Now that you understand the exam itself, let's step back and look at the big picture of what you'll actually be learning and how this whole course is organized to get you there. Think of this chapter as unfolding the map before the journey. Here's what we'll explore together. First, we'll walk through the four major domains that make up the entire exam, getting a feel for what each one covers and how much it weighs. Then, I'll show you how this course is deliberately structured to follow those domains so your studying always lines up with what's being tested. We'll also talk about the recommended sequence to study in because order genuinely matters when concepts build on each other. Beyond that, I want to introduce you to the learning tools woven through this course, the quizzes, assignments, role plays, and case studies that turn passive reading into real understanding. And finally, we'll cover how to use your support materials wisely, things like the glossary, the quick reference guide, and your final practice test strategy. So by the end of this chapter, you won't just know what's coming, you'll know how to travel through it efficiently. Ready? Let's lay out the map. Let's start with the first domain, the foundations of AI governance, and think of it as laying the groundwork before you build anything taller. You'll see this domain contributes somewhere between 16 and 20 questions, so it's substantial but not the heaviest. Now, what does foundations actually mean here? Picture building a house. Before walls or a roof, you need solid footing in the ground. This domain is that footing. It's where you come to understand what AI really is, why it carries unique risks, and what responsible AI principles look like in practice. Here's why I'd never let a student rush through this part. Everything in the later domains, the laws, the development controls, the deployment decisions, all of it assumes you already grasp these basics. Imagine trying to discuss whether an AI system is fair without first understanding how the system makes decisions in the first place. You'd be lost. So even if some of this feels introductory, treat it as essential scaffolding. When I coach beginners, I notice the ones who invest properly here breeze through the harder material later because they're not constantly backtracking to fill gaps. So as we enter this domain, give yourself permission to go slow and build a rock-solid base. The questions here reward genuine understanding, and that understanding pays dividends across the entire rest of the exam. Now let's move to the second domain, which is all about how laws, standards, and frameworks apply to AI. And notice the weight here, 19 to 23 questions. That's a meaningful chunk, so this domain deserves real attention. Here's how I describe it. If the first domain was the foundation, this one is the rule book. It's where you learn the actual legal and structural guardrails that govern how AI can be built and used. We're talking about things like existing privacy laws, the EU AI Act, and respected frameworks from bodies like NIST, OECD, and ISO. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. This sounds dry and full of regulations. But let me reframe it for you. Imagine you're advising a company that just launched an AI product across several countries. Suddenly, which law applies here isn't dry at all. It's the difference between smooth operation and a massive fine. That's what this domain prepares you for. Here's my honest coaching note. This is the domain where candidates either build a clear mental map or get tangled up confusing one framework with another. So as we go through it, focus on what each law or standard is for, rather than drowning in every detail. Ask yourself, what problem does this rule solve, and when would it come into play? Keep that practical lens, and this heavy domain becomes far more manageable. Let's turn to the third domain now, governing AI development, and pay attention to the weight here, 21 to 25 questions. That makes this one of the two heaviest domains on the entire exam. So this is where serious points are won or lost. So what's this domain really about? Think of it as moving from the rule book into the workshop. Up to now, we've covered what AI is and what rules surround it. Here, we roll up our sleeves and ask, how do you actually govern AI while it's being designed, built, trained, and tested? This is the hands-on, life cycle side of governance. Imagine a team building an AI model from scratch. At every stage, there are decisions. What data do we use? How do we test for bias? What do we document? When is it ready? This domain is about putting governance into all of those moments rather than bolting it on at the end. Here's why I tell candidates to take this domain seriously. Because it's so heavily weighted and so practical, the questions love scenarios. They'll describe a development situation and ask what the right governance move is. So memorizing definitions won't save you here. You need to think like someone actually steering a project. As we work through it, keep imagining yourself inside that workshop, making the calls. That mindset is exactly what these questions are testing. Now we arrive at the fourth domain, governing AI deployment and use. And it carries the same heavy weight as the previous one, 21 to 25 questions. So together, domains 3 and 4 make up the bulk of your exam. Let me show you how this one differs from the last, because the distinction matters. If domain 3 was the workshop where AI gets built, domain 4 is the real world where AI gets released and actually used. Building something is one challenge, but letting it loose into live operations is a whole different set of responsibilities. Think about it this way. A car passing safety tests in the factory is great, but governing it on the open road with real drivers and unpredictable conditions is another matter entirely. That's the shift here. This domain covers deciding whether to deploy at all, choosing how to deploy, monitoring the system once it's live, handling incidents, managing vendors, and even knowing when to shut something down. Here's my coaching insight. Many candidates underestimate this domain because deployment feels like the easy part after building. It absolutely is not. Real harm often surfaces only after a system meets real users. So as we explore it, keep asking, what could go wrong once this is actually in people's hands, and how would good governance catch it? That practical worry is exactly the instinct these questions reward. Let's pause and talk about how this course is actually built, because understanding the structure will help you study with confidence rather than feeling lost. Here's the simple truth. This course deliberately mirrors the 4 domains we just walked through. That's not an accident, it's by design. Why does that matter to you? Because it means everything you study here maps directly onto what the exam tests. You're never wondering, is this relevant? It always is. Now, about sequence. You might be tempted to jump around to whatever looks interesting, and I understand the urge. But let me gently steer you. These domains build on each other like floors of a building. The foundations come first for a reason, the laws and frameworks sit on top of that understanding, and the development and deployment material assumes you've grasped both. Imagine trying to learn how to govern AI deployment before you even understand what AI is. You'd be building the third floor with no ground floor underneath. So my strong recommendation is to follow the course in order, at least on your first pass. Later, when you're revising, absolutely circle back to your weak spots in any order you like. But that first journey through, walk it in sequence. Trust the structure. It was designed to carry you from the simplest ideas to the most demanding ones, exactly the way solid learning should flow. Let's talk about something I'm genuinely passionate about, the learning tools built into this course, because they're what separate just reading from actually being ready. Here's a question worth sitting with. Have you ever read something, felt like you understood it, then completely blanked when asked to use it? We all have. That gap between recognizing information and truly knowing it is exactly what these tools close. So let me walk you through them. The chapter quizzes are your quick checkpoints, catching weak spots before they become exam day surprises. The assignments push you to work with the material more deeply. But the ones I really want you to embrace are the role plays and case studies. Why? Because the AIGP exam loves scenarios, remember? So practicing with realistic situations is the closest thing to rehearsing for the real test. Imagine a case study where a company's AI tool starts behaving unexpectedly and you have to decide what governance steps to take. That's not just studying, that's becoming the professional you're training to be. Here's my honest advice. Don't skip these because they feel like extra effort. They are the effort that actually pays off. When I see candidates struggle, it's almost always the ones who only read and never practiced applying. So treat every quiz, role play, and case study as a free rehearsal for the real thing. Your future self will thank you. Now let's talk about your support materials: the quick reference guide, the glossary, and the downloadable toolkit. Because using them well can seriously sharpen your preparation. Let me start with a gentle warning though. These tools are powerful, but only if you use them the right way. So let's get that right together. Think of the glossary first. AI governance is full of precise terms that sound similar but mean different things. Ever mixed up two concepts just because they shared a word? The glossary is your quick rescue for exactly those moments. Keep it close whenever a term feels fuzzy. The quick reference guide is different. It's your big picture map, perfect for those moments when you want to see how everything connects without rereading whole chapters. I love using it right before revision to refresh the overall shape of things. And the downloadable toolkit? That's your practical companion, the templates and resources that show you how this knowledge looks in real work. Here's my key piece of advice. Don't treat these as things to read once and forget. Treat them as tools you return to again and again, especially the glossary during practice questions and the reference guide during revision. When I prepare anyone for a certification, the smart ones keep these open beside them constantly. So make them part of your daily study rhythm, not an afterthought. Used well, they turn scattered facts into a connected, confident understanding. Let's finish this chapter by talking about something that can genuinely make or break your result: how you use your final practice tests. And I want to challenge a common mistake right away. Many candidates treat practice tests as a scoreboard, just a number to feel good or bad about. But that's not their real value. Let me show you a better way to think about them. A practice test isn't there to judge you, it's there to teach you. The score barely matters. What matters is what the wrong answers reveal. Picture it like a doctor running diagnostics. The point isn't the test itself, it's discovering exactly where the problem is so you can treat it. Your practice tests do the same. They spotlight your weak areas with surgical precision. So here's the strategy I want you to follow. After each practice test, don't just note your score and move on. Sit with every question you got wrong and ask, why did I miss this? Was it a knowledge gap, a misread, or rushing? That reflection is where the real learning happens. Then go back and strengthen exactly those spots. And here's the confidence part, which is just as important. As you watch those weak areas shrink test after test, something powerful happens. The anxiety fades and self-assurance grows. By exam day, you've not only closed your gaps, you've proven to yourself that you're ready. That quiet confidence is worth as much as the knowledge itself.